Thank you all so much for coming out today. As you can see, we've got some very special guests with us, so I hope you'll show them a warm welcome. My name is Patrick Cortese. I'm the proud chair of the McLean County Democrats. And again, thank you for coming out. We need to acknowledge a couple people real quick. First of all, Joe Morrison. Where did Joe go? Joe's right here. This is Joe's place, everybody. Can we thank Joe Morrison for letting us use their place? What a perfect setting for this conversation we're going to have today. There's a handful of elected officials in the room. There's some county chairs, but I do want to acknowledge a couple people right off the bat. First, the first ever McLean County Board Chair that's a Democrat, Elizabeth Johnston. Where's it? There's Lizzie right back there. Vice Chair Jim Rogel. And we have some amazing county board candidates running. If you're running for a county board spot in McLean County, can you wave your hands and say hello? And I especially want to introduce a young man who's going to be the first ever Democratic McLean County clerk, Mr. Joshua Crockett. And of course, our special guest, Lieutenant Governor candidate Christian Mitchell. And our governor, JB Pritzker. A real quick aside, and I've been waiting for this opportunity to say this in front of a big crowd. I got a really interesting trivia question for you. What do myself, NBA Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas, and Christian Mitchell all have in common? We all went to the same high school. We all went to St. Joseph's in Westchester, up in the Chicago suburbs. Christian, like myself, is a proud Charger. Anyway, Governor, you picked a really good place to come and talk about rural Illinois. We're here in Towanda, right off the historic Route 66, which is celebrating its 100th anniversary. So thank you for picking this spot. McLean County is the largest county in the state. We're roughly about the size of Rhode Island. We have over 1,200 square miles, 1,500 miles of roads, hundreds of bridges and communities spread across that enormous area. But most importantly, it's important to recognize that some of the most productive farmland on the planet is right here in McLean County. We have 600,000 acres of farmland that produce over $700 million in agricultural products annually, which puts us at the top. We are the nation's largest producer of soybeans and corn. Agriculture isn't something we do, it's part of who we are here in McLean County. Here's why the governor's investment in counties like McLean and other rural counties in Illinois is so important. Whether it's rural broadband, because modern farms and small businesses need high-speed internet just like they need electricity. Our roads and bridges are not just roads and bridges. They've become farm-to-market infrastructure. They get what we grow in the fields to the marketplaces where they can be sold. A great example of this is a little farm just down Route 66 from here called the Funks Grove Heritage Fruits and Grains. How many people here know Funks Grove? How many people here have bought Funks Grove syrup? Right? Thanks to the governor's local food infrastructure grant, which you'll hear Jeff talk about later, they were able to purchase grain handling and processing equipment where now they can clean and dry and store locally grown grain and get it shipped all over the nation. So thank you, Governor, for that investment. We know that you know this, but I'll say it anyway, that rural Illinois shouldn't be an afterthought. That economic development isn't always just about big cities. It's the small bookstore in Lexington. It's the family in Stanford or the kid in Hayworth that wants to keep his family here and start a life. That's something we know that Governor Pritzker understands. Because when JB Pritzker talks about investing in McLean County, that investment doesn't stop at Veterans Parkway. It reaches our farms, it reaches our small towns, and it reaches families outside Bloomington Normal. But my favorite thing, the thing that I'm really excited about that the governor's invested here in McLean County, is all of us, right? Thanks to a lot of hard work and help from a whole lot of people, especially the governor and his team, we have changed what people thought was politically possible in McLean County. We have a couple great examples of that here with us today. In 2018, Sharon Chung was elected to the McLean County Board, part of our local Blue Wave. So was Elizabeth Johnson. Sharon did such a great job, we ended up electing her, sending her to Springfield, where she could represent us in the Illinois House. And finally, after years of organizing, recruiting good candidates, and a whole lot of hard work, we elected enough Democrats on the McLean County Board to take control and hold a majority for the first time ever. We didn't get here by accident. It took a lot of work, a lot of people doing it together, and a huge, huge help from the governor. And we're so proud to be working with you on that team, Governor. Now I'm going to have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker. She's been a huge step of what we've been doing here in McLean County for a long, long time. While she serves us in Springfield, she never forgets where she came from. She represents our working families, our labor unions, our farmers, our small businesses, and communities throughout the district. She's my friend, my partner, and an outstanding advocate for McLean County. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the incomparable Representative Sharon Chung.
Thank you, McLean County. It's so great to see you all here tonight. I decided I'm going to speak from the heart because that's kind of how I operate. But I do want to say, so how many people here were here for the bus stop 4 years ago in Franklin Park? Raise your hand if you were there. Now, Governor, I don't know if you remember this, but that day was on my birthday 4 years ago. So you missed my birthday by 2 days, but thank you for still holding this party for me here today. But what I was sort of thinking about today, just how far we've come since that election back in 2022 when the governor ran for re-election, and now here he is running for re-election again. In 2022, Governor Pritzker actually won McLean County, so it was one of those huge things, and I kind of went back and looked at history because I know you like history, Governor, but the last governor who actually won McLean County as a Democrat was back Adlai Stevenson in 1948. And he's sort of the son, right, of McLean County. So for Adlai Stevenson to win in 48 as a Democrat, carry McLean County, and then to 2022 when Governor Pritzker won, I think it's a pretty huge thing, and it shows really again what the strides that we've been able to make in McLean County since then. And so let's even get him to win by even a bigger margin here in 2026, right? That's where we're going for. So now since then, I have been able to, ending my second term now here in the House, have been able to do such incredible work fighting for working families, fighting for education, fighting for more funding for infrastructure, all these things that, that make our everyday lives better, right? And that's something that I wake up every day and that I take very seriously as my job, that I'm here to represent you all and really listen to your concerns, the things that really do matter to you, and I try to take that in my heart and then take that to Springfield as I try to advocate for us. And I have to say that having the governor alongside me as we try to do that sort of fight lifts us up even more, because again, it's a hard fight because you kind of have to see. I don't know if you see some of the nonsense that's going across the aisle from what we have to deal with. There's a lot of nonsense, and so for having the governor in our corner is something that's so important to all of us in the General Assembly and all of us here in Illinois and McLean County. So I've been so pleased and just so happy to have him in our corner. And one of the things I have to say that he has done. So some of you might know that for the past few years I have carried a bill. We're calling it the Family Farm Preservation Act. Raise your hand if you've heard of this bill. Yes, thank you. So what this bill, for those of you who don't know, and because we're talking about agriculture here today, it's what we're doing is that we're trying to change the rules around the estate tax when it comes to family farms. So many of you will probably hear, or some people call it the death tax, which I find to be somewhat morbid, to be honest with you. So, but we call it the estate tax so that, where you have somebody passes away and then they want to pass their family farm onto members of their family, then they actually have to pay a tax on top of that. And then I've met some people who've paid the estate tax 5 times over on their farm. And all they're just trying to do, and for many of you who know farm families, you are always just trying to meet your bottom line, right? And, knowing how expensive everything is and these darn tariffs, right? Everything that is happening, it really does make it much harder for family farms to operate the way that they have been for generations. So what we are trying to do is to sort of fix that, and we've been doing it, and I'm so pleased to tell you all that Governor, I hope I'm not, sort of like spoiling anything here, but the governor did call me a couple weeks ago to tell me that he was going to put his full-throated support behind this bill. Yes. Because he knows how important the agriculture is to the economy of our state and how important those farm families are for all of us. And that's something that I do not take very lightly, and I'm so happy that he called me to tell me this, and it's something that I'm very honored to carry, and hopefully with his help, we will get it done. So those are some of the things that I've been really proud to work on alongside the governor and alongside my colleagues in the General Assembly, and I have to say that I'm kind of lucky I don't have somebody running against me this year. Can you believe it? Oh my gosh. So because of that, I am going to take that fight and fight for other candidates who are running here. Of course, getting the governor reelected, along with Christian Mitchell, his lieutenant governor candidate, and also all of our great county board members, and of course Joshua Crockett, who's running for county clerk. So yes, I'm sort of taking that energy, because all of you know how much I love to knock doors. So I'm taking that energy to get all these other great folks elected, because again, we're building a movement here in McLean County. That's something that I've been saying over and over again for almost, 10 years now. We've been doing this for 10 years. So that we're trying to build this movement here of getting great people elected, people who really are listening to our community, who are willing to show up day in and day out, and that's what we're here to do. So, and I know that this next person I'm about to introduce is one of those public servants. He's going to be our next lieutenant governor, so I'm going to like to welcome Christian Mitchell up to the stage. Thank you, everybody.
Right. Well, good evening, everyone. I want to thank Representative Chung for that very kind introduction. As a former state rep, I can say your first unopposed race just feels amazing, so congratulations. Feels like freedom. I want to thank Joe for having us here tonight, and I don't know if you guys know this, the governor's a Duke fan. So this may actually be my last night as lieutenant governor candidate, given all the Duke gear she's got on. So it's been great while it lasted. I want to thank Patrick Cortese for your leadership as county chair. We would not be here without you. Thank you so much. How y'all doing? I want to thank you guys for all being here, for all coming out on this random weeknight, McLean County Democrats, because without you, there is no us. Your dedication in supporting local candidates has yielded incredible results. You helped flip the McLean County Board, making my friend Lizzie Johnson the first Democratic chair in its history, and flipping this county for Governor JB Pritzker in 2022. That's a testament to your hard work, because I know that you have knocked on the doors. You have made the phone calls. You have turned people out to vote. It doesn't just happen because you know how much this matters for your community. To the farmers in the room, I want to thank you for being here today. Your families, your businesses, and your livelihoods are worth protecting and investing in. But Donald Trump has turned his back on you. The very folks who feed this country. Guess we didn't need it anyway. And here's the good news. JB and I will never turn our backs on you. Now, unfortunately, elections matter, and you can't say the same for Darren Bailey and his running mate, Aaron Del Because the truth is, they've never shown up for Illinoisans. In fact, right now, They are actively cheering on the tariffs and the trade war that are cutting off your access to markets to sell your crops. They've initiated an unsanctioned war in the Middle East that's raising your input costs. They apparently today just started a trade war with Canada that's going to raise the price of agricultural machinery. Instead of standing up to Donald Trump, Darren Bailey and Aaron Del Mar, they're letting him raise prices on Illinoisans from your farms all the way to our grocery stores. Now, while Agent Orange in the White House socks farmers with this trade war and blames everyone else for this economic crisis, we are lucky here that we have a governor in JB who's taking action to help Illinoisans. Let me give you just a few examples. In addition to calling out this trade war, JB has helped secure over $4 billion in export contracts so soybean farmers can sell their products overseas. And unlike our opponents, he's fighting back against Trump by passing the Illinois Grocery Initiative so people in places like Venice, Illinois have access to safe, affordable, and fresh food. Now, that's why it's so important to re-elect JB, because we've come so far together, but we still have so much more work to do. And I'm ready to do my part. As your next Lieutenant Governor, I will chair our Rural Affairs Council so that I can work with all of you to expand opportunities and investments in our rural communities. Because our farmers are only as strong as the systems that support them. So I'm going to be focused on continuing the work of my friend Juliana Stratton, who's going to be a great U.S. Senator, by the way. Strengthening key infrastructure, like our rural telemedicine systems, improving rural healthcare access, and providing the resources our farmers need to plan for future generations. We have to ensure that all communities, including our rural communities, thrive and never get left behind. I know everyone here is going to do everything they can to elect Democrats up and down the ballot this November. We're going to elect Democrats like Joshua Crockett to be your next McLean County Clerk. We're going to re-elect the unopposed Sharon Chung to the State House. And most importantly, you have my word. This is not the last time you will see me. This is certainly not the last time you will see him. We are going to be with you every step of the way, knocking on doors, making phone calls, fighting with and for you to make sure that this state and this country reach its promise. So I want to thank you for welcoming me here tonight. If I'm still Lieutenant Governor, I will see you soon. Might be the person with the Duke gear. But I am very honored to have the chance to represent and fight for and with all of you. And with that, I want to welcome a McLean County small business owner and farmer who, alongside his wife, Katie, have dedicated their lives to improving your local food systems. Please give it up for Jeff Hake.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. There was talk about possibly hosting this at our farm, and I'm so glad that we're here instead. This is a really nice place, Joe. I don't know if Joe's still... This is amazing. Thanks for having me here. My name is Jeff Hake. I'm a farmer at Funks Grove Heritage Fruits and Grains. It's a farm that I operate along with my wife and her family. If you recognize the name Funks Grove, you might know it better for my wife's family's maple syrup shop, which she and I also help with. I help her make maple sugar. She also makes maple candies for the shop. And occasionally you'll come to the shop. Sometimes you'll see me as like sort of the third string person running the shop occasionally. Come see me on Saturday. I'll be there 11 to 3. We had the delight of having Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton visit our farm back in, I think, 2021. It was great to have her sport in those times that were, feels like a lifetime ago. And boy, those were rough times. It was really great to have the governor's office supporting us and have her visit us. Before I even talk about my experience as a farmer, I just want to note first that I have been so happy to be living in the state of Illinois during this presidential administration, and to know that the governor is going toe-to-toe with this president. Whether it's cuts to SNAP or cuts to the local food purchasing assistance program, or the cancellation of it entirely, actually, or just going after the marginalized, being a bully as much as he can, the governor's been there pushing back, and I appreciate that so much. So thank you, Governor Pritzker. As for our farm, I just wanted to mention, Patrick mentioned the Local Food Infrastructure Grant Program. Who's heard of that program? Yeah, it's a small program. It's about a $2 million in the state budget. We worked to get that bill passed in the state legislature in 2023. It was sponsored by Senator Dave Kaler, who had the nerve to not be here. He's a cool guy. I love Dave. But also was co-sponsored by my friend Sharon Chung. And that bill got passed, and the impact of that has been enormous. So the way this program works is that is a state-level grant program that is investing in small farms, food businesses that are not only trying to grow their operations, but also trying to be more collaborative in their operations. I am thrilled to say that our farm received one of these grants in 2024. In the state budget, it's a pittance, but for our farm, we can spread $78,000 around to all kinds of amazing equipment, and we can't afford to do that. And we can't afford to make the impact on the food system and on feeding our county and our state the way we'd like to without investments like that. We were able to invest in all this post-harvest grain handling, all this really niche equipment, and all this equipment that you just can't really find anymore. We're digging around in people's barns and on Facebook Marketplace to find all this really small equipment that just doesn't really exist on our farm landscape anymore. But we set up this whole system with funding from the local food infrastructure grant so that we could not only grow our own grains, but also do all of the post-harvest handling and all the milling and be able to do the entire process from putting the seed in the ground to getting our pancake mix and our flour and our other products into people's homes. And not only that, but I was also part of a project called the Farm Fed Cooperative in Mount Pulaski, a cooperatively owned food processing business, which is just starting to get their products on the shelves this month after 6 years, and that was in huge part to the local food infrastructure grant program. And I know that the governor's office was hugely supportive of this program. And whether it was just giving voice to how important those kinds of investments are, or working with the Illinois Department of Agriculture to make sure that they could implement the program, it's a hugely meaningful, impactful investment in our small farms, and I'm so appreciative to the governor for doing that. That and so many other reasons are why I plan to vote for JB in November. And why I'm happy to support him, and I'll ask anyone I know to vote for him as well. So with that, thank you for having me here, and I'd like to introduce Governor Pritzker.
Well, hello, McLean County Democrats. So great to see all of you here. I want to thank Jeff for those very kind remarks, and importantly for standing up with his wife Katie for the great traditions of our Illinois farm families and also for our Illinois farms. And to Joe, my goodness, I had not been here before. This is gorgeous. I understand you host weddings here. I'm not planning on having another one, by the way. But I just want to say, this is amazing, really, just gorgeous. So great to be here. And I want to give immense gratitude to someone who's been kind of a hero in Democratic politics over the last, since I've been governor anyway, and that's Patrick Cortese. I'm not exaggerating. Your entire team of McLean County Democrats, people who are, nobody gets paid to run the party in McLean County. I know there's laughter by people who are involved. No, you don't get paid for it. But your passion shows through. And most importantly, you're delivering. You're delivering Sharon Chung. You're delivering, for Democrats all across the state. I can't tell you how much that means. And when you took control, I'm looking right at Lizzie. When you took control of the McLean County Board, oh my, for the first time in Illinois history, everyone sat up to take notice, everyone, all across the state, because you recruit great candidates, you knock on all the doors, you make the phone calls, and you've shown the world that there is no such thing as a safe red seat in McLean County. I also want to recognize the love of my life, who's also my partner in everything that we've accomplished, including our 2 children. But she is a special person and somebody who puts up with being the First Lady of the state of Illinois, with me anyway, but most importantly, carries it off with aplomb and has a great deal of respect for the work that she does. So, ladies and gentlemen, the First Lady of Illinois, MK Pritzker. Whew, I can go home tonight. Before I give some remarks, I want to just tell you about some news that we just got a couple of hours ago. It's good news, so nobody be on edge. But sorry about that, but we got some news over the last couple of hours. Some of you know that I've worked really hard to balance the budget of Illinois while also rebuilding our state government. By the way, Darren Bailey voted against every one of those balanced budgets. But I worked hard to balance the budget, partly because we needed to raise our credit rating in the country. We literally had received 24 credit downgrades in a row over the last 15 years before I took office. 24 credit downgrades straight, not one up, all down. Took us to the worst credit in the nation. And so every year I've worked hard with Sharon, with the legislature, to pass balanced budgets, in part because if you get a better credit rating, we all know this from our own credit ratings, if you get a better credit rating, you get to borrow money at a lower rate, you pay less in interest cost, right? So the taxpayers don't have to send money to the big banks. We can keep the money and invest it right here at home if we get better credit ratings. So fought hard, got not 1, not 2, but 10 credit rating upgrades for the state of Illinois. Well, this morning, I was informed that we have now received our 11th credit upgrade for Illinois. And who did that? Democrats did that. Democrats did that. We're the fiscally responsible party. We care about government. We care about the people of the state of Illinois. So thank you for letting me announce that somewhere today, because I've been holding it, and I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to these things, because who cares about balanced budgets and credit rating upgrades? Well, I do, and so it means a lot to be able to announce that to all of you. 9 years ago, in August, I arrived here in this county, in McLean County, as a candidate for governor on my first campaign swing, my bus tour across the state. We met at the Laborers Local 362, and some of you were there. And one thing I can say is I was not the favored candidate back then. Nobody thought I was going to win. I was running against a Kennedy, some of you may remember, and a state senator, and I was just some other guy that was running. And but I told you back then that I would be relentless about investing in central Illinois, about investing here in McLean County, about creating jobs and rebuilding our roads and our bridges and our airports, and investing in our universities and our community colleges and our K-12 education. So standing here before you today with so many familiar faces and so many new ones, I'm proud to tell you that that's exactly what we've done. And I felt then, as I do now, that McLean County is the center of Illinois' comeback story. We Democrats attracted major private investment in companies like Ferrero and Rivian, right, to this county. And we've also made sure that small businesses have had grant programs available to them, that we've made it easier for small businesses to start and grow in this state. We made major upgrades on I-55, on I-74, Veterans Parkway, of course, and we did it all with union labor. In fact, that's now a requirement for every project in the state of Illinois. It's got to be built by union labor. So we modernized the cargo area and the roadways around the airport here. We also helped to build the new science complex and the fine arts building that's coming up at ISU. And did I mention that ISU has its highest enrollment since 1991? Pretty great. Yep, so Democrats made that happen by nearly doubling our scholarships and our grants for kids who want to go to school. Doubling. We went from about 400 million to about 800 million in my term in office, and I want to thank the legislature and all of you for helping us fight for that. And we made major investments in workforce development at Heartland Community College to help prepare our students for in-demand jobs of the future. McLean County is one of the absolute best places in the nation to raise a family, to live, to work. And we Democrats are making it even better. How are we doing that? Well, because we're expanding the Route 66 bike trail, upgrades for the historic Miller Park Zoo, park improvements in Bloomington, and a brand new Lucky Climber at the Children's Discovery Museum in Normal. And there's much more that we're doing and much more that yet to be done. But Illinois Democrats also delivered for our farmers with the Farm SOS mental health initiative for rural families, with my signing of trade deals with Taiwan and Indonesia and others to sell them more than $5 billion in corn and soybeans, with free FFA memberships for every student in an agricultural education class. We've now nearly doubled the number of FFA students in the state of Illinois. McLean County has a lot to celebrate because Democrats delivered. But I'm unfortunately here to tell you an uncomfortable truth. McLean County Republicans, the ILGOP, and, well, Donald Trump and Darren Bailey don't care a whit about farmers. They don't care about rural communities. They don't care about you, and all they seem to care about is dear leader, Donald Trump. Trump is screwing you. Why? Because he's only guided by two things: his personal greed and his massive ego. His selfishness has driven our nation into three, not one, not two, but three dangerous wars. A war with Iran, a trade war, and a war on the middle class and working families in this country. So what do we have from all of that? Well, now we've got higher gas prices, higher fertilizer prices, higher grocery prices, higher electric prices, and our soldiers are dying in a foreign war that's got to end. My opponent, Darren Bailey, has called Trump's war and Trump's tariffs, and I quote, short-term pain for long-term gain. I wish I could do that with a Southern accent, but I can't quite get there. So let's talk about the pain that Bailey wants you to endure. Billions of dollars in trade gone. Billions of dollars in tariffs paid by consumers directly out of your pockets. What's infuriating for farmers, especially, is that international trade relationships take years to build. They take years to build. Building up those customers, those foreign customers, it's hard work to maintain too. And it takes an instant to have it fall apart. And Donald Trump didn't build those relationships for you. If you're a farmer in this state, you built those relationships. You made that happen. And then Donald Trump drives customers out, and where do they go? They buy from everywhere except America. That's not putting America first. That's putting America last. And that's who Donald Trump is. And that's who Darren Bailey is. And the impact has been devastating. Farm bankruptcies, the ones owned by families in this state, are increasing. They're increasing here, and they're increasing across the nation. Our farmers work themselves to the bone to put food on our tables. McLean is the top soybean producing county in the country. some of the most fertile land in the world is right here. And that's why I'm fighting like hell to make sure that our farmers can survive the damage that Republicans are doing. We've got to get Republicans to support a farm bill that also makes sure that we're feeding families across this country. SNAP benefits and the Farm Bill are one and the same thing, and we need Republicans to recognize that. We've been fighting here in Illinois to make sure that at the federal government level, we get year-round E15, because that's important for our corn growers, and it's important for our economy, especially in a moment when lowering the price of gas and the price of diesel by even 15 or 20 cents can make a real difference in people's lives. And, of course, we're promoting Illinois trade deals. I try not to travel too much around the world because I think it doesn't look good in everybody's eyes when the governor of Illinois is going all over the world. But I think it's important to show up, to look people in the eye, to talk to them about doing business with the state of Illinois and why this is the right place to do business with, the right people to work with, the right people to cut a deal with. So, and I'm going to tell you a quick story, if I can, about something about that. Bill Clinton, I once had the opportunity to talk to Bill Clinton about foreign policy, and he said something that I'll never forget about, do you remember when the two Korean-American women were held hostage by North Korea? Do you remember that? It was in the early 2010s. They were taken hostage during Obama's term. And finally, after a lot of diplomatic effort, Kim Jong-il, who was the father of the current leader, finally said, I will send these two women home and release them. They were held captive. They had done nothing wrong. They were being held captive. I'll send them home, but only if Bill Clinton comes to pick them up, which Obama then said, okay, I'm calling Bill Clinton, but he couldn't take a military plane. He had to take a private plane. He couldn't take any protection with him other than a few Secret Service agents, and flew all the way over to North Korea, landing in North Korea, really by himself, to go pick up these two captives. And he got off the plane and walked up the big red carpet with all the generals on either side. And he got up to the front where Kim Jong-il was, and Kim Jong-il, just before Bill Clinton got to him, did this. He like, come over here, come over in the corner, that sort of thing, right? So he followed him over to the corner. And I guess Kim Jong-il spoke English. And he said, Mr. President, do you know why I asked you and only you to come be the person that I would release these captives to? And he said, no, I don't know. Why did you? And he said, because when my father died, you were the only Western leader that picked up the phone and called me. And you talked to me about how much your father meant to you and how much you missed him, and that you understood how I felt when I heard that my father died. And what the message, of course, that Bill Clinton was saying was diplomacy is important, protocols, right? All of the protocols that go with the, engaging diplomats from one level to another level, but that the personal relationship, looking somebody in the eye, having a friendship or at least a working relationship, a courtesy with a foreign leader can make all the difference in making peace, and from my perspective, all the difference in making trade deals for the state of Illinois when Donald Trump is pissing off the rest of the world. I want them to know who we are and what we stand for in this state. So I want to talk just for another minute or couple minutes about Donald Trump's war on working families, a war that Darren Bailey supports. Cuts to Medicaid are pushing rural hospitals to close. He, of course, is taking food assistance away from, and I looked it up, 4,300 people in McLean County alone. 4,300 people. These are some of the poorest people that live in this county. They have lost food assistance already. He canceled energy grants for central Illinois farmers and for small rural businesses. He took away FEMA storm damage funding at a time when we're experiencing near record tornadoes here and where climate change is affecting states all across this country, Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about the people of this country. He certainly doesn't give a damn about Illinois families. And we know that McLean County has been specifically very hard hit by these storms. Donald Trump's greed and cruelty make him a danger to McLean County families. He is genuinely a danger. And frankly, to all of Central Illinois, the man is after you. And Darren Bailey's okay with that. Cheers on Donald Trump, thinks that's what we should all wish for, that we would have cruelty visited upon the poorest people in our state, or frankly, on the working families of Illinois. I'm working hard to make Illinois the absolute best state in the nation to live, to work, and raise a family. I want to put more money in people's pockets by raising wages and creating jobs. Because you know what? You've never heard of grocery prices going down. You don't hear about the price of a car going down. You don't hear about the price of a home going down. You only hear about these things going up. And the only way to beat the affordability crisis is to put more money into people's pockets. And then, of course, and I mentioned it earlier, restoring a firm fiscal footing for our state by passing balanced budgets for 8 years in a row, that also helps us get where we need to be, and that's something I've been fighting for. Increasing support for our local schools. Can I tell you something? Do not let your neighbors lie to you. Do not watch Fox News. Do not listen to the Illinois Policy Institute or any of those crazy right-wing things online. Let me tell you the truth about schools in Illinois. Writ large, I'm not saying every school fits the bill, but writ large, I'm talking about for the state of Illinois, collectively, K-12 education. If you ask people on the streets across this state, what do you think our state ranks among the 50 states in K-12 education? Some people say, well, it's in the bottom half, or it's in the bottom quarter, or we're not doing well. Do you know that our state ranks 5th in the nation? K-12 education now, 5th. 4th in college readiness. And we just scored the highest high school graduation rate in Illinois history. But we've got so much work left to do. By the way, I don't like being 5th or 4th. I want to be number 1. In the months ahead, we all need to make the calls, knock on the doors, get out the vote, to elect more Democrats here in McLean County, like your next county clerk, Josh Crockett. And as far as I'm concerned, we need to turn the entire McLean County board blue. Let's re-elect a true champion for this community and my great partner in the General Assembly, Representative Sharon Chung. Sharon, I don't know how you get those, no opponent situations. Honestly, I haven't gotten one of those yet, but thank you. Thank you for showing the way, as usual. She's leading. And let's send Eric Sorensen back to Congress. And let's give him a colleague to work with by defeating Darren LaHood and electing Paul Nolly. Make sure that everyone knows that if they send Juliana Stratton to the United States Senate, they're going to be sending the most relentless fighter for health care that you've ever met. And she's also going to tell Trump to... Okay. And finally, Christian Mitchell and I will never give up our fight for you. We will stand up for the people of Illinois, no matter who the President of the United States or how hard he is fighting against you. It is our job to protect you. It is our job to make your lives easier. We've been working at it now for years. By the way, he may not have been my lieutenant governor before, but he was a state representative. He was the deputy governor in my administration who brought us things like our CEJA environmental bill and our infrastructure bill. He led those. He's a captain in the National Guard, and he's my friend. And I hope you know that he and I will stand together and fight for you and fight for the working families of McLean County. But McLean County Democrats, we're going to have to fight like hell to defeat the MAGA extremists in the state at every level. So I got to ask you, are you ready for the fight? Yeah. Are you ready for the fight? Yeah. Let's go get them, everybody. Thank you all very much for coming out tonight.